Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Soul Tribe Podcast. Hopefully you guys have listened to previous episodes and are back again with us, and if so, I'm glad that you guys really liked it, and I hope that you continue to get what you need from each episode. Our mission is to talk about all these things that will help awaken us and you and everyone listening, and our mission is to kind of have a soul awakening to what we really are, and we thought that today's episode is highly aligned with that, and it's free will and karmic lessons. So we're kind of tying them in together. We're going to talk about how important they are one for the other and kind of go from there. So I think I'm going to begin by saying, for me, what free will is, and then Lorena, maybe you can jump in from your side. But free will, I think this is really easy to define. It's basically, I have the right to decide for myself what it is that I want to do, be, or how I want to carry out my own life, my own thoughts, my lifestyle, who I want to surround myself with. I have the free will to decide anything and everything in my life, and that's part of everybody's soul contract. And that's part of mine also. So that's how I would explain it. Lorena, how would you explain free will?
For me, when I think of free will, I think of like lessons, and I think of struggles, and I think of reactions. So for me, free will is, how am I going to react to this? How am I going to let this affect me? How am I going to go ahead and live my life even though I'm going through this? It's our free will to decide how to live, how to react, and how to move forward. Because a lot of us might be in situations where we're not necessarily happy, or we're not fulfilled, or we're not feeling like we're living at our utmost potential. And I think free will is that. It's like, okay, perfect. I'm not in my situation, my ideal situation, but I do feel like I have choices here. And you always have a choice. There's always that free will of choice. That's kind of how I see it. But I see it more linked to decisions and moving forward, because I do think sometimes, depending on your soul contracts, that you might have more or less ways to move forward. Like, you might be limited in some ways, I think. And the free will's there to kind of open your eyes to see, look, I don't have to react this way. I don't have to feel this way. I don't have to continue in this, struggle that I'm in. And I can move forward and feel free, right?
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason, like, you went through the process with me of those, what was it? I was sick for three weeks, almost 4.
Like a month and a half.
It was bad. Like, it was like a really bad cold, but it got pretty severe. And then I got better, and then I got really sick again. And I remember even like coughing, my ribs were hurting. Like, it was bad. And I started pondering, like, I've been sick ever since I was born. Like, I was born sick. And my immune system, due to a lot of things that doctors had to do to save my life, which was basically the doctors ended up giving me before 6 months, the age of 6 months, doctors ended up giving me 180 antibiotic shots on my butt. I remember Mom's story is like, she said that there was no spot on my butt left that wasn't red. Like, when they would go give me another shot, they were looking for a spot where I wasn't already like red, or, so that's how bad it was. And that saved my life. Like, thank God they did that, because that did save my life. But at the same time, that totally shot my immune system. And so then that my life has been a struggle of trying to figure out a natural way to be healthy and get sick less. And there's moments in my life where my immune system is really good, and there's moments in life my immune system is really bad. And last winter I was great, but this winter was really bad for me. And I literally I remember messaging you going, I'm done being sick. Like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I was taking supplements and eating healthy, and I hadn't had like any alcohol in months, so it wasn't that. And I was eating really healthy, so it wasn't that. So I was going through my mind the process of what it could be that my immune system was being like, it was just, my immune system was worse. And that's when I said, you know what? For some reason I went, Bach flowers. I used to take homeopathic medicine when I was in my teens, when I got really bad, when I would get really sick. Mom got me on them, and they actually really helped me. And that was the moment in my life where the first time I remember I spent one winter without getting sick for the first time in so many years. And so that's when I was like in bed one day, and I was like, that's it. I need to get back on homeopathic medicine and see if it really does help again. And that's when I went back on Bach flowers, which is, if you follow me on Instagram, and sometimes we'll share it on the Soul Tribe Instagram, but you'll see that I'm constantly posting because like I'm obsessed with them. I got well very fast once I started taking them, and I've been feeling really good. And I think I could have decided two things. I could have been like, I could have accepted my immune system because of the life experience I had when I was a baby. I could have been like, well, I'm just going to have to wait it out and get better, or take antibiotics again and keep shooting my immune system down. Or that was my free will. My free will was, no, you know what? I need to find a better way to do this. I need to find a better way to do this. Maybe I will still get sick, but maybe I'll get sick way less and I'll feel better. And to be honest, I'm really glad that I had that breaking point, because I'm back to feeling really good again.
Yeah, it's so crazy that you mentioned that, because I feel like that's when you start feeling like the free will is there. Because if you're not struggling, you don't really, it's like the free will's there, but you don't necessarily feel like you need it, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you're tested, you realize that you have choices. And that's why I think with a lot of the Akashic record readings, free will be mentioned quite a lot, and depending on the reading, obviously, but it will come up when someone needs to make a decision or when they can move forward. And they always like to let people know there's free will involved here. You can decide to go down any path you wish or you feel, but recognize that you going down one path might lead you to become even sicker or not get better. And another path might lead you to actually feel free and feel like on your soul path and your soul purpose and aligned with who you are and where you want to go in life. So I think free will gives us that choice. And for me, I think it came to me really free will. Like, if I think about it, the first thing that comes to me is choosing to love myself. Like that's completely within your reach, or getting help if you're depressed, or speaking to somebody about an issue that you feel like you've kind of kept inside of you for so long. That's our free will to talk about that and to bring it out and to heal it. And that will make us better, right? I think it could be the littlest thing to even like the biggest thing that'll affect your whole life and turn things around.
Yeah, that's totally true. And to kind of go back to one of those things you just said is how the Akashic Records always talk about it. My goodness, they talk about it a lot. I find myself doing readings and they make me repeat it. I don't know, sometimes up to like 5 times. But you have your own choice. Remember that you can choose whichever path you want. We just want you to know that this path was going to make you feel this way. It's going to help you do this. And this path is going to da-da-da-da-da-da, whatever, right? And they divide those two paths into two decisions that the person might be struggling between. But they're always repeating. But you can go down whichever path you want. It doesn't mean that if you don't go down this one, things are going to go really bad for you. So they're always making sure you understand that it's your choice. They're just giving you information that might help you make the correct decision for you. And the correct decision for you is basically the one that's in your contract, in your soul contract, in your life contract, because it's what your soul came here to do. That's basically what the right decision is, because maybe like someone struggling to make a decision and they look at the person next to them and go, well, this person decided this, maybe I should do the same. No, actually, don't compare yourself to those around you, because usually the people around you have a totally and completely different contract than you. there's previous episodes where we talked about this, right? But you're the only one that knows, and I said it in an episode, that's best for you, because that's you connected to your soul contract, and the person next to you might have a totally, completely different contract, which is why they're inclined to make different decisions, and their free will might lead them to feel better about another decision more than one, right?
Yeah, and I think another thing that you were saying there was like the karmic lessons and our soul path and our contracts. I think they're all linked with the free will in a lot of ways and in different ways for everybody. But I think essentially, like even the examples we just gave were about making a choice, about a lesson we have to learn. So for you, Lou, it might have been like, okay, I can stay sick, or I can keep trying the same things I'm trying and it's not helping and I'm not feeling better. And essentially you want to feel better because you need to feel better. We need to keep putting these messages out there. You want to keep doing your readings and helping people. And if you're not healthy, it's like a lesson. Like, I need to get myself healthy so I can help people get healthier in different ways. And that's your lesson there. It's like, how do I listen to myself to do the right thing, or to do the thing that's right for me, so I can align better and feel better? And you learned a lesson through that. It's like, oh, I wasn't really maybe listening to myself, and I have to go back and feel things and see what worked for me maybe in the past that you forget, right? Like, life comes along, years have gone by, and you don't necessarily remember that you used to do that. And for me, the same thing. Like, I'm on homeopathic medicine now too, and it's helping me quite a lot. But I think in essence, we're learning something from the free will, because if we choose one path or the other, we're going to learn a lesson either way, but one might be more aligned with our contract and might allow us to move forward and progress and to actually learn the lesson we came here to learn in this life.
Yeah. I think in my situation, I was stuck in bed when Aurora allowed me to be stuck in bed, because when you're feeling really sick, you want to be in bed, but obviously I had this 3-year-old that I had to deal with, so I wasn't in bed that much, which is also one of the reasons why getting better took longer. But when I was able to be in bed, the only thing you can do is either you're watching something, like I'm either watching something Gaia or Netflix, or I was reading, or I was passed out, like just surviving, right? And that leads you to think. You're just in bed and you're thinking. And for some reason, I went back to... So high school in Uruguay, for those that don't know, high school in Uruguay is different from high school in like the States, for example. And I don't know how it is in the UK, but I'm guessing it's somewhat similar to the States, where you study in like general. Whereas in Uruguay, when you get to, what was it, 5th and 6th?
Like the last 2 years of high school.
Yeah, so the last 2 years of high school, which is in Uruguay, 5 and 6. 5, you have to go down a route. You had to pick either it was biology or civic.
Humanitarian.
Yeah, like civic humanitarian. And what was the third one? One was for like lawyers or something.
And one was like agricultural stuff, wasn't it?
Well, that's the one but yeah. So I went down the biology route, which would be for doctors or someone that wanted to be an agriculturist or someone that wanted to be a vet or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It's architecture. There's 3. The architecture, right, which is the maths and physics. The second one was civic and lawyer and laws and stuff. And the third one is biology. So I went down the route of biology. And actually, if you ask me why I picked it, it was because I thought it was the easier one. Literally, I thought, okay, I'm bad at physics and I'm bad at math. And I was like, civic and law, I barely understand Spanish. I had just learned Spanish a few years ago. At that point, I wasn't good enough to read like laws and completely understand the Spanish language. I was like, no, that's not my route. Let's do biology. I think I can survive to
see. That's so weird, because I picked humanitarian route because it had philosophy and sociology, which I loved, and it was hard, but I was fascinated by those subjects.
Were you? I didn't even remember what you
Oh my God,
done.
Sociology and like philosophy were like, oh my gosh, I got really into it. I was really fascinated. And then like metaphysics and stuff, it was pretty cool.
But what about like the class with law? You didn't find the language hard?
Yeah, I didn't like that part, but I just studied and remembered stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was thinking, okay, I picked biology, and then that's at year 5. So you're doing just general biology and stuff like that. And you also have a philosophy class. And then after that, you can divide into 2. you either go down the route of doctor or you go down the route of agriculture. And I was like, hey, this body thing is really hard to understand. Let me just pick plants. So I literally once again made the decision to go down the easier route, right? That's why I decided it. I ended up loving it.
I remember you loved everything you did there.
Oh my God, I loved it. We had 3 classes I remember. I don't remember anything else. I remember one class was philosophy. So we'd literally sit down and talk about Platon, which... Plato,
yeah.
Like all those, right? We'd talk like philosophy and stuff. We'd have philosophy class and we'd go through all like the important people and what they taught and what they believed in. And then we would have the botanical class where we learned about plants and even medicinal plants. And then we had geology, which you learned about the divide of the megapancreas, the megapancreas. I know the terms in Spanish, but like the big continent dividing into different continents. So you learn about that and the tectonic plates, and then you learn about rocks.
And crystals, right?
And crystals, yes. And so I'm in bed and I'm going, I'm an idiot. Literally, this is my thought process in bed. I'm an idiot. Life literally took me down the route of philosophy, which is pondering life, pondering spirituality. My other class was medicinal plants. Here I am now. I'm already giving back remedies to people that I'm doing Akashic Records readings for. Crystals, I'm constantly working with crystals out in crystal grids. And the medicinal plants, like I was learning them. I was already on my path. Yet my like 15-year-old, 16-year-old self was still angry that I like left high school or on the right path for myself, but I just went somewhere totally different because I was just still angry with the world.
See, that's weird because if you think about that for a second, right? You say, okay, you had free will there to choose. There were 3 or 4, I don't remember if it was 3 or 4, but you had 3 or 4 choices when you were going into high school, right? And in your mind, you thought you were picking the easiest one, but maybe it's the one that was most aligned for you. But that's free will, right?
But if you think about it, easy for me was probably because it was aligned with me. Maybe that's why I thought it was easy.
You think like the word easy comes to you, but it was what felt best for you right then and there.
I also kept failing geology because
well, yeah.
I took the exam like
math,
5 times.
Right?
No,
and math was hard for you too, right?
I don't remember if we had a math.
But then like you like math now, so it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
But I think that's cool, but that goes to show the free will that sometimes even when you think you might not, like the thing here is I think you need to take into consideration that you're using your heart. You're not trying to rationalize things and make a decision to do something that you think is best for you. Like for example, you want to move, but you don't know where to move, and there's certain places you don't want to move, and there's others that you're not sure and others that you're super sure about. Like, how do you make that decision? I think you just need to follow your heart. Like, keep your head out of it. Yeah. Obviously, there's certain things you need to take into consideration. Let's say you have kids. You need to make sure there's a good school system, et cetera, et cetera. But there's places that are going to call out to you. And for some reason, like even your example, Lou, something called out to you. And it didn't matter what it was for. There was something you needed to learn through it. But you're a person that follows their gut, right? Like, that's you. That's always been you.
Yeah, that was the decision I made, and I was young, and I thought it was because it was the easy route, but you're probably right. It felt easy because I was just in tune, and I didn't think about it. Like, it wasn't a thought process. It was like, oh, this is easy, let me do this. And I didn't give second thought to it at all, even though any other normal human being would have been like, this is the rest of my life, and they probably would have freaked out and be like, what do I really want to do with the rest? What's going to make me money? Kind of thing. I was just like, what's easy?
Yeah.
So that was probably, you're probably right. That was my free will. But my point about the story is, I think that sometimes we will get a second chance to make the right decision for ourselves for free will. Sometimes. Not always. Yeah. And so now I'm back, and I'm studying and learning about the things that I could have already been an expert at this point, total expert at this point, because I was already studying it when I was, 15. But I after made the wrong free will decision for my contract and myself, but somehow life allowed me to make the choices to go back on track again. And it took a lot of hitting walls, but I did it.
Oh my God. I'm thinking about that. Like, I'm just thinking about you are a pilot, right? And how much that called out to you at some point in your life, to the point of like it taking over your life, right? Like, I have to do this. If I don't do this, I'm going to die. My life is like over. Like, this is what I need to do with my life. And you had to like fail your test. I believe you had to fail your test to be where you are now.
Yeah, I passed my private pilot and I became a pilot. I failed my commercial pilot because I didn't use the radar IFR flying. No, I didn't do commercial. Sorry. I failed my instrumental rating. I was trying to add my instrumental rating to my private, and then I was going to do commercial, and I did fail it. And then I was like, this is a lot of money, because it was a lot of money. And I don't know, because I thought about that a few times. I thought, like, I still love flying, and I still think about it's obviously you have to renew them every year, mostly because of the medical aspect of it, because you need to be like sane. Like, they're not going to just renew your pilot license. And I haven't been flying, so I'd have to redo the whole thing. And I've thought about doing it because I like the freedom of, or I like the feeling of flying. I love landing, for example. Like, I love it. I love the whole thing. I think about it, and I think about it in a good way. But I think there's things that we do in life, and the reason for that, for us wanting that, isn't an end-all result. It could be, and I never asked it, but it could be that I had a pending life where my dream had been to become a pilot, and I was here to partially fulfill that here. Yeah. Right? Like, so sometimes we're called to things because we're just completing a circle of past lives. And I've studied a lot of things, and I've completed everything I've studied. I've graduated everything. And they all made sense to me, and I would do them all over again. So I think that part of my karmic contract is to finish full cycles that weren't finished in other lives.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that for you. And that's why you maybe need to do so many things and learn so many things. And I do think the flying and going through that experience put you back on the path that you are now. Yeah. Not to say that you won't keep your license one day or go back and keep doing it, but that you found what you're like, this is what we need to be doing now. And I totally believe that. Like, every cell of my body believes that. And I know that right now. And I've never been so sure of anything. So, but we also had the free will to be where we are now, like, to get here and to make the choices. Like, I just think about the podcast, for example, for free will. And I'm just giving examples now because I think people might be like, well, how do I choose? I don't know how I choose. I don't have any choices, and you always have a choice. Like, we had a choice to start a podcast, and we did. And it was a lot of work, and we had no idea what we were doing.
And it still is a lot of work, because sometimes it
still is.
It means sometimes it means weekends, because for those that don't know, like, Lorena's in a totally different time zone as me, and her job doesn't allow, with my difference in time zone, it doesn't allow us to do it from Monday to Friday. So we really literally record sometimes Saturday and Sunday, which means that I can't plan anything on the weekends, which I'm okay with because I love doing it. And sometimes we'll cram in more than one episode on a day so that the next weekend we can have free or whatever. But yeah, every day, it's not just free will. We made a decision once. We decide that, and that goes with everybody's career or whatever it is that their hobby is. Every day you make a decision once again to do that and to continue to do that.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean that it's going to just come to you really easily either. Sometimes it's really hard using your free will. It's really hard making a decision. And that might mean taking people out of your life. That might be moving. That might be leaving somebody. That might be like breaking down your walls and being able to trust people again. It could be anything. But we do have that free will. And it's a lesson in itself just to use the free will, because by us using the free will, we're able to align. We have the opportunity to align with ourselves and our path. And that's huge. Like, that's so huge for ourselves and for our growth and for our learning in this life, and to be able to reincarnate in another life and not have to repeat these lessons. We have that choice here.
A lot of people get mad when, like, I talk about, and I say this because the Akashic Records masters always make me say it, and it's better to get it done in this lifetime if it's in your life contract, because the next one's going to be harder. I don't know why if you have to do it again, it's harder. A lot of people get very upset when they hear that. But that's our human minds. There's something behind it more that I don't understand. My human mind doesn't totally understand it either, but it's almost like they're going to let you hit the wall, and then the next time it's going to be a boulder, and then the next time it's going to be, a big building. Like, it's going to be bigger and bigger every time you have to redo it. And I don't know exactly why that is, but I do know that that's the way it is, because they've said it to me so many times. So like you said, it's best to get it done in this one. And I, as a person, have rarely not known what to choose for myself. And I've made some really crazy choices at some point,
Totally.
like living in Cayman Islands and going, oh, well, this marriage is really bad. I'm going to get divorced. I'm going to grab my 9-month-old and I'm just going to quit my job and try to sell my house and leave. And I have very little pocket money, but I'm going to do it anyways. Like anybody from that side would have been like, Lucia, you're going to kill yourself and your daughter. You're crazy, which is basically what everybody around me told me. But I don't know why I knew I had to do it. I had to do it. And for those that are trying to make a really hard decision and things are not aligning, to maybe help you feel better, once I actually made the active decision, decided where to move and started looking for a flight and literally like aligned everything, the house sold in like 2 weeks. And it was, insane. And everyone's like, Lucia, you're not going to get it. They're going to buy it via mortgage. You're not going to get it. I'm like, I don't know it's going to work out, but I don't know why, but it's going to work out. And I was like, I was basically telling everybody to just stop bombarding me with negative and their thoughts of how the human existence works, because I somehow knew it was going to function. And we ended up getting a buyer that paid in cash, and he wanted the house ASAP, and literally we had the house money in 2 weeks.
Which was insane.
It wasn't insane. It was because I had made a decision, and I felt so strongly about it because it was part of my path. I was supposed to do it, and that was the universe giving me what I needed to get it done and do it. And if I hadn't made that decision, the house wouldn't have sold, I'm pretty sure. If I would have waited for the house to sell, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have sold. If I would have been like, let me wait for the house to sell and then go. I don't know why, but it wouldn't have worked that way. So for anybody out there who's literally trying to use their free will to make the decision that's right for them, and if life isn't leaning towards that for you to happen, just try to make it happen anyways. Find a way around it, because then after everything will probably align for you. If it really is a decision from your heart and not from your head, then I think that it probably will align for you at some point.
Yeah, I think if you are using your heart to make the decision, like, if you're coming from an ego place, from your ego mind, then I can pretty much think that you're not making the decision that's going to be most aligned with you for your karmic lesson, for you to accomplish that karmic lesson and get over that and be able to move forward. But if you're using your heart, you truly are using your heart, and for example, in Lucia's case, that she had to leave, like she knew she had to physically remove herself from wherever she was at the moment, and that there was something more out there. She felt it. She knew it. And I think a lot of you guys listening right now might feel the same way about certain decisions you need to make. That's the same thing. It's the same thing. If you truly feel it inside of you, then believe that the universe will sustain you and will hold you and will push you forward for you to accomplish whatever it is you need to do or like make happen. But at the same time that you're learning your lesson through that, because it's easy for us to make a decision and be like, okay, cool, that's over. But there was healing with your situation too. It was really hard. Mm-hmm. And making that decision meant, a lot of people didn't agree with it. It meant you had to change a lot of things. No, nobody. But I'm just saying, like, in general, like, a lot of times we make a decision and people might not agree with it because that's not their path. That's our path or your path or whatever path that is. And we need to believe that if we follow our heart, and obviously we're using some type of level-headedness, like we're not doing something so crazy that we're putting our life in danger. I think in essence, we will be okay. We will always be okay. And the universe will always help us and sustain us to be able to learn the lesson we need to learn and to move forward and to get aligned on our path. Because if we already feel that there's something we need to change and we're using our free will to change it, there's something that's not right. Like right now, there's something that is not right in your life and you feel it and you know it. And I can guarantee that you have been thinking about it for a while and it's been going through your head, but more so through your heart. And you feel like you need to make a change. So that's where your free will comes in. And I feel like the free will comes forward and feels more real in moments of us feeling like we're not okay. Like there's something that needs to change. We need to make a decision. And in times of hardship, I would say.
Yeah. And I want to just like go back to a few things that you said there. Sometimes the decision's really hard. And in my case, no one agreed with me. And I understand why no one agreed with me. It really did seem like a crazy idea. And it really looked like I was heading for complete failure. But I also want to make sure that people understand that if you are in a situation where you failed, it actually might not have not been a failure. For example, like if you ask me about my previous marriage and how things went so bad and how difficult it was for me and how awful I felt at times and all the awful things I had to go through, and I would still do it all over again because I really think that that was part of my karmic plan. I learned a lot from all that I went through, and it actually put me on a deeper spiritual path than I already was on because I was already a reader and I was already helping others. But something about everything that happened made me even more spiritual awakened or more spiritually inclined, I guess you can say. And I also think that I had a lot of karmic pending things with him, and I think that we had to go through those. And if you ask me now, the people that like know me well know that I'm actually friends with him. Like, he actually messages me for advice, and I help him out if there's something spiritual or, you know, recommending things. And I still love him for all the experiences and obviously for giving me Aurora and all these other things. So I don't regret anything I did. So I think I want to make sure, what I'm trying to get out is, I want to make sure that if someone is currently feeling that like they failed, you probably didn't fail. It was not every life experience is a straight line where it's like, oh, direct to everything being perfect and everything's gonna be easy, because no, we're still in this life experience. We still have things to learn. That means that it's not going to be perfect all the time, and it's highly probable that your failing wasn't actually failing. It was a life lesson that was actually probably in your contract and plan. So don't beat yourself up about it. Like, you know, take it as a life experience once you're able to digest, because for me, at least, it took me a while to digest all the hurt that I had gone through, how awful I felt, how cheated I felt, how disrespected and unloved I felt. It took me a really long time to process all that and give myself back. Like, no, you know what? I do deserve love, and I do deserve, and, you know, let me get back on track with myself and put myself first. And I think that was part of the decision of me leaving. I knew that was my way of putting myself first. And I think that's why everything aligned so well for me, because it was my way of saying to the universe, I come first. No, I'm not second anymore. So don't beat yourself up for failings, because it's probably a lesson, and it was probably on purpose.
But then I look back at my life and I'm like, whoa, when things seem to have gone bad, they were actually for me, not against me. Like, almost always. I don't really look back and think of anything and say, wow, that really sucked and I didn't learn anything from it. Like, that's our choice and our free will to learn from things too. Because we can have really crappy things happen to us and we not learn from them.
Yeah.
And that's free will too, right? So I think the thing here also that I wanted to mention, I think we were going to go into this anyway, but how free will, our own free will and other people's free will and their ability to decide can also affect our own karmic plans and lessons, right? So just to know that we're all really connected, very connected. And sometimes you might think, oh, no one cares about me, or this doesn't affect anybody. Like, everything affects everything. Not in a way where you need to stress out about it, or you always have to think about yourself and put yourself first and put your needs first as a human being. And obviously if you have kids, you're going to put their needs first too. But I think we just need to realize how connected everything is, and that free will that we decide, like, for example, Lucia deciding to leave here where I'm currently living, we were both living here, like, that affected me in some way. And that put me on a path of really making some different choices in my life and feeling like maybe I need to stand in my own 2 feet and I need to decide things for myself and I need to do things for myself. It was at a very, like, I think, subconscious level at moments, but it still affected me and it made me see things and feel things differently.
Yeah. There was a part of the situation that I lived with you when I was going through all that. And I remember we went by yours to see you the day before I was leaving, because you weren't going to the airport the day I was leaving. So I think I went by to see you the day before.
We had breakfast the day you were leaving.
I must have blocked that out.
I remember visiting you a few days with your friend, and then I didn't see you until, like, the day you were leaving. Where I remember Aurora was crying, I was hugging her, and then, you know, it was just, like, very awkward. It was horrible.
No, I don't remember. I remember we were at yours by the pool, Maybe this was a few days. I think this was the day before, though. And I remember you were crying and you were saying that you were really worried about Aurora and you thought something was going to happen to her and that I shouldn't leave. And I remember clearly what I said to you. And it was, the day that you have a husband, and then I listed all the awful things that happened to me that does this, and this to you. And this is happening to you, and this is happening to you. Until you go through that, don't tell me what is wrong or right, because you, I think, would make the exact same decision as I am now. Something like that. I said, like don't try to assume what you would do and that what I'm doing is wrong until you go through a situation. And that for me was something that was like, it was like a snap moment, you know, the moment for me, because even though I was the one that was saying it to you, that for me was a moment where I stopped being critical of anybody else's life. That moment I said that to you. It's really weird that it woke me up, me saying that to you. But like now when I look at somebody and I go, oh no, their decision, and I'm about to doubt it, I go, till I'm not in their shoes. Like I'm not, who knows, maybe I'll do the same thing. Like, I don't know. So now I'm less critical of other people's decision, other people's lives, because I remember that clear moment where you totally did not understand where my decision was coming from. And I totally knew that you wouldn't understand it until you were in the same shoes as I was.
It's not that I wasn't trying to understand you. It was just, for me, it was more like I just wanted to make sure you're going to be okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was more from a place of worry. It wasn't so much that, you know, I always know you're going to be okay. Like deep down at this point in our lives, I know that any decision you make, I've come to that like kind of feeling. I'm like, I know she's always going to be okay. It's really weird. Like, I think this huge thing that you did made me realize that and believe that. And I truly believe that now. It's really weird. That's also helped me also open my eyes and be like, well, you know, you're like a huge expander for me in that way, because I always think, wow, like, look what she did. And that's why we should always let other people do that for us. Like, don't take for granted the people around you, and realize that they can also inspire you to make really interesting changes in your life and to go for things that you might be really scared of right now. Because, you know, they might be going through something hard. Maybe they're going through something amazing and they've worked really hard to get there. But we have the choice to get to where they are too, right?
Yeah.
To make our lives better, and always use people as inspiration. But we're all connected, because from that experience that we had, which wasn't really mine per se, it was more Lucia's, I was affected by it. My family was affected by it. Like, everyone, you know, everyone was affected, but we also all learned something from it. So these plans that we have, these karmic plans and contracts, they're in some way always linked. Yeah. In some way, I always feel.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like, it was my free will, and it was my heart connecting with my plan, because I remember the hardest part for me was I had Wendy and Buddha, my adoptive dog and cat, and they had been living in the shelter. I adopted them a few years before. They were to me like my kids, but I can't pick up and take. I had to get specific shots, and I had to figure out where I was going to plant roots. Like, I was going somewhere, but I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to stay legally. So I had to literally figure out where I was gonna stay. And then once my roots were planted, I was going to have to figure out how to get them to where I was. And I think a lot of people thought that I wasn't going to end up doing it, that I was just going to leave them there in Cayman Islands, and I wasn't. Like, I definitely wasn't going to do that. They were my family to me. And I remember feeling really bad about it. I felt like I abandoned them. Like, that was my biggest problem after I left. I was like, I just abandoned these two animals that I once took out of a shelter, and whom they know that I take care of them. Like, I just abandoned them. Like, I had someone to take care of them for the time being, till I figured myself out and stayed somewhere. And it felt like forever, and I think it ends up taking about a year for me to get them where I was, which is Holland now. But I managed to get them here, and when they were finally here, I was like, oh my God, I did it. That was the first time in the whole experience of like a year where I went, okay, I did it. I finally did. Okay, I'm good now. I'm good now. Like, everybody's here. Okay, everybody's healthy. Everybody's good. Okay, we're good. And that was like the first sigh of relief when the animals finally arrived, and everybody made it. We all made it through this experience that we were going through differently, but all together at the same time. But so that's important, what you were just saying before that. Like, someone else's free will is going to probably highly affect me if it's somebody's close to me, especially if it's somebody that's my soulmate or my soul tribe. So, and a good example of that is, let's say, and this is coming off the top of my head, right? A couple, there are two people, individuals living together, they're soulmates. They're supposed to go through a certain struggle on purpose or an issue that they were going to go through in their life at some point, and they're both supposed to push past that because they're both going to learn from that, let's say, right? But then one of them goes, you know what, this is too hard, I'm out. And their free will and their decision is, I'm out. I'm going to go, I can't do this anymore. So what just happened is soulmate number 2's free will's decision was to abandon the relationship. And now soulmate number 1, who would have fought past it, would have gained that karmic lesson, now has just lost the chance to go through that life lesson with that soulmate. And so whatever decision you make, if it's your soulmate or your soul tribe or whoever it is, it's going to affect those around you. And sometimes there's certain things we're supposed to go through with people. So it's important to know that your free will, positive or negative, on path or off path, it's going to create a positive impact on the person's life that's with you, or a negative impact. One of the two. Yeah. So remember that your free will affect other people's life and contract.
Completely. And it can be in very positive or negative ways, but like you were saying, but just I think having that in the back of our mind, not to scare us or not to make us feel like, oh, I have all this power because I can do anything I want and now I'll affect people with it. Like, it never comes from that place. It needs to come from a place of your heart. Like, I'm making a decision for myself, for my life, and for my path. And it may affect other people. And they might need to learn some lessons through that, through my decisions. And just the fact that we all are connected is beautiful, I think. And really makes me feel like, even this podcast, sometimes I think about that, how we're all connected and we get such beautiful messages from people and how it's helping them awaken or not feel so alone. And that just makes me realize how like everything has like a spirit of its own, has an essence of its own, and how we can all affect each other, how we can all help each other, right?
Yeah. The ridiculous brain of Lucia. The other day I was sitting down on the couch and I was like reading the article to see how many I was reading on like coronavirus and how many countries it's gotten to. And I thought, we are seriously all connected. Like, this is a physical representation of how we are all connected. It started with one person in China and now it's gotten to so many different places, and it's going to end up in a town near you, you know? And that's how we're all connected. This one person that I don't know who it is started it. Somehow it's going to make it all the way to my country, you know? Mm-hmm. That was like a really funky way of thinking about it. But that's how...
That's showing us that.
Yes, it's a tangible way of seeing it. Whereas if there's somebody out in the world that's putting out, for example, like you said, the podcast, we're putting out good vibes. There's somebody on the other side of the world that's having a really bad day, like a low energy day, or just they had a bad day and they need to pick me up and they listen to the podcast to feel better. We don't know how we're affecting them, but we're positively affecting them, right? In a good way. They're getting an energy boost or, you know, reassurance about something, or we're helping them believe in themselves to make a decision. But so we're all connected, and you just don't realize it because we don't have tangible evidence of it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that could be tangible is like energetically, where you're in a bad mood and you can put somebody else's energy really low, or when someone does that to you more so probably. Like, we are all connected. That's so funny you mentioned the coronavirus, because I keep feeling the same thing with it. And I know we channeled some stuff the other day in the episode, but it's crazy. It's so crazy how it's physically showing us how we're all connected and how everything's not only global, but yeah, it's just energetically like waking us all up, and that it doesn't matter if it's near you or not right now, it's still affecting you.
Yeah.
It's affecting everybody. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we had channeled, like, I keep remembering it. I keep reassuring myself that you know, the other side, the other dimensions are fully aware of it. And I keep remembering the words, it's the chaos before the new order. And I think that it is a wake-up call that we all need, and it's going to lead to some changes that are needed. And even if it's like a different way of thinking or a different way of functioning, it's going to lead to something that we need to be changed.
Totally. I completely believe that. Even though I'm a little scared, obviously everyone's a little freaked out right now.
But yeah, definitely.
In any case, you can be freaked out and still believe that, right? That's like, that's how it works, I think. At least
we began the episode talking about my immune system. So yeah, I'm definitely freaked out about it. I have a really bad immune system. I was literally talking the other day on Facebook, and I was like, it's only killing people that are like elderly, but my immune system is basically that one of an elderly person. So I'm wondering if I will make it if I get it, but I think I will.
It's your thoughts too. I think we all need to stay very positive and work on ourselves. Like maybe this is also a moment for us to look inward and start taking care of ourselves and making sure that we're like not smoking and we're not harming our body in any way, and eating healthy and drinking like fluids and all of that. Like it's up to us as well to protect ourselves from all that in the most healthiest and not like obsessive way.
For me, it's a lot of like, if I'm having like a day where I feel a little down, my immune system it's almost like it goes down with it right away. It's like instantaneously. So I've been working really hard to keep my internal emotional, balanced back again, even if it's a small thing. Like, I don't know, I'm with Aurora and she's having, sometimes like, she'll wake up and Aurora, who's 3 years old, will have like, a 3-year-old day where she's like in a bad mood, and it affects me because it's harder for me as a mom to deal with her that day. And then I might have like a little bit low energy, or my frequency might be down, and that kind of affects me. So I've been working on that, but also the Bach flowers have been helping me keep myself more emotionally balanced. So that's been like a side effect, where that's usually why people take Bach flowers, for the emotional aspect of it. I've been taking it for my immune system, but it's been helping me with all of it.
And it's all connected. Same thing with everything else that we're talking about, I think, at least.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to close with that. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
No, just that your free will is going to allow you to decide what you want, but make sure that you decide what you feel is right, because that's what's going to be in your contract. So you're being true to yourself, and you're going to be true to your contract that's linked to other individuals also. So you'll be positively affecting those around you, because that person signed up to live through that situation with you, if it is that your free will is totally aligned with what your contract is, right?
Amen. I love that. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle's @soul_tribe_podcast. We also have a Facebook page. We'll have all that information on the show notes. And be sure to tune in for next week's episode. We're going to have some more interviews and some really interesting topics coming up. So make sure you subscribe. And if you feel called to leave a rating and review on iTunes, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.